Dr. Lyra Novik peered through the quantum microscope, her dark eyes reflecting the soft purple glow of the crystalline samples before her. The Stellar Institute's laboratory hummed with the gentle pulse of antimatter containment fields, a sound she'd grown accustomed to over the past 3 months of working with the Austerians. Her alien colleagues moved with fluid grace around the lab, their translucent skin shimmering with neural patterns that betrayed their excitement. Chief Scientist Veller approached, his tall, willowy frame towering over her workstation. The intricate patterns of light beneath his skin formed complex geometries, a sign of intense focus among his kind. The human genome continues to fascinate us, Dr. Novik, Veller said, his voice carrying harmonics that made the crystals in the lab resonate slightly. Your species' adaptive capabilities are extraordinary. Lyra straightened, pushing a strand of auburn hair behind her ear. And yet you're still dying, she replied softly. The Astarian plague had decimated their colonies across 3-star systems. Their highly evolved biology, once their greatest strength, had become their weakness. The hybridization project is our last hope, Veller acknowledged. Our genetic structure is too rigid, too specialized. We need humanity's adaptability. A holoscreen flickered to life between them, displaying the latest test results. The neural crystals they'd been developing showed promising signs of accepting human genetic material. But they needed more than mere acceptance. They needed true integration. Dr. Novik, a new voice called. Commander Roth strode into the lab, his military bearing unchanged by the low gravity. His weathered face and graying temples spoke of decades of service, but his eyes burned with purpose. The Astarian High Council has approved the next phase. They're allowing direct genetic fusion trials. Yes, but with one condition. Roth's expression tightened. They want you to be the first human donor. The lab fell silent. Even the Astarians' neural patterns stilled. So Lyra looked at her hands, remembering the modifications already made to her DNA to allow her to work with the neural crystals. She was the most compatible human they'd found, but full genetic fusion was untested, dangerous. The plague has reached their homeworld. Roth continued quietly. We don't have time for more preliminary trials. Veller's patterns shifted to deep blues of concern. The process will change you, Dr. Novik. The neural crystal integration is irreversible. Lyra touched the small crystal pendant at her throat, a gift from the Astarians symbolizing her status as their ally. She thought of the thousands dying in quarantine zones, of civilizations on the brink of extinction. When do we begin? She asked. The preparation chamber was a marvel of biocrystal architecture. Panels of living crystal pulsed with soft light, responding to the presence of Astarian technicians as they calibrated the fusion apparatus. Lyra lay on the crystalline bed, trying to still her racing thoughts. Commander Roth stood at her side, his usual stoic expression softened with concern. This goes beyond the original mission parameters. You can still decline. We both know that's not true. Lyra smiled faintly. Besides, isn't this why I was chosen? My exceptional adaptability? Veller approached, neural patterns swirling with complex equations. The fusion chamber is ready. We will begin with neural crystal integration, then proceed to full genetic harmonization. The crystal bed hummed to life beneath her, resonating with frequencies that made her bones tingle. Lyra closed her eyes as the first neural tendrils reached for her consciousness. The sensation was familiar from her previous work, but this time it went deeper. Colors bloomed behind her eyelids, not seen but felt. The Astarian neural network opened to her, vast and crystalline. Hot and crystalline. She felt Veller's presence guiding her through the integration. The genetic fusion began, and with it came pain, not physical, but the fundamental ache of transformation. Remarkable, Veller's voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere and nowhere. Your neural patterns are adapting to the crystal matrix faster than predicted. Lyra couldn't respond. Her consciousness expanded, touching the edges of something vast and alien. The crystal network sang with possibilities, with the combined potential of two species on the brink of either extinction or transcendence. Hours passed like moments. When Lyra finally opened her eyes, the lab had changed. She could see the neural patterns flowing through the crystals, could feel the pulse of the containment fields as clearly as her own heartbeat. Commander Roth's face came into focus, concern evident in his expression. But now she could see more, the subtle play of electrical impulses in his nervous system, the complex dance of his cellular activity. "How do you feel?" he asked. Lyra sat up slowly, watching neural patterns shimmer beneath her skin like those of the Asterians. "Different," she whispered, "but still myself, just more." Veller's patterns blazed with excitement as he reviewed the preliminary data. "The fusion is stable. Your genetic structure is already beginning to incorporate the crystal matrices. This is beyond our most optimistic projections. What happens now?" Lyra asked, though she could already sense the answer through the crystal network. "Now," Veller replied, "we see if we can save both our species." The first phase of the Genesis Protocol was complete, but Lyra knew this was only the beginning. As she gazed at her reflection in a crystal panel, at the subtle shimmer of neural patterns beneath her skin, she wondered what other changes awaited. The boundary between human and Asterian had begun to blur, and with it, the future of both species hung in the balance. Crystalline spires of the Stellar Institute stretched toward the stars, each facet alive with the neural patterns of the hybrid collective. What had begun as a desperate experiment in survival had blossomed into a new form of civilization. One where the boundaries between species, between mind and matter, had become wonderfully fluid. "Remember when we thought we were creating super soldiers?" Lyra mused, her consciousness intertwined with Nathaniel's as they observed the evening meditation. Below them, hundreds of hybrids floated in quantum resonance, their combined awareness creating patterns of light that rippled through reality itself. Plague that had threatened to destroy the Asterians was now a distant memory, not defeated through warfare or medicine, but transcended through evolution. The hybrid consciousness had shown both species a new way of being, one where adaptation happened not through conflict, but through harmony. The military council finally admitted we were right. Nathaniel projected through their shared link. They've officially redesignated the facility as the Center for Conscious Evolution. No more weapon development protocols. The change was visible everywhere. The once sterile research chambers had transformed into growth gardens where new forms of crystal life emerged from the quantum probability fields generated by hybrid meditation. Each creation represented a new possibility, a new path of development for both species. Dr. Reed, himself now showing signs of passive hybrid transformation from prolonged exposure, documented the changes with wonder. "The crystal matrices have become self-replicating," he reported, "not through traditional biological means, but through quantum entanglement. They're teaching organic matter to evolve consciously." Commander Roth, his hair now more gray than black, had become one of their strongest advocates. "I saw we needed weapons," he admitted during the final military review. "They showed us we needed wisdom instead." The hybrid community continued to grow, but not through the rushed emergency protocols of the early days. Now, transformation was a choice, a calling for those ready to explore the deeper possibilities of existence. Each new hybrid brought unique insights to their collective consciousness while maintaining their individual essence. Veller, his patterns showing the subtle influence of hybrid presence, addressed the combined council of both species. "We sought to save ourselves from extinction. Instead, we found a path to transcendence. The hybrid program hasn't just preserved our species, it's shown us what we can become together." Through the crystal network, Lyra and Nathaniel could sense the changes spreading beyond their immediate community. Quantum resonance fields carried the potential for transformation across space itself. Both humans and Asterians were gradually awakening to new possibilities, their consciousness expanding in subtle but profound ways. "We're not the end point," Lyra shared with a group of new initiates. "We're the bridge, a demonstration of what's possible when we move beyond our limitations, beyond our fears of change and difference." The Institute's quantum core, once used to power military research, now pulsed with the combined consciousness of hundreds of hybrids. Their shared awareness reached into the fabric of reality itself, gently guiding evolution toward greater harmony, greater understanding. "The universe," Nathaniel often said, "isn't just conscious. It's becoming more conscious through us, through all life that chooses to evolve." As the sun set over the crystalline spires, casting rainbow refractions through the quantum field, Lyra and Nathaniel joined the evening meditation. Their consciousness expanded through the crystal network, touching the minds of their fellow hybrids, reaching toward the stars themselves. They had begun in fear of extinction, of change, of the unknown. They had emerged into wonder, into a future where consciousness itself was the key to evolution. The hybrid program had succeeded beyond anyone's wildest dreams, not by creating better weapons, but by creating better possibilities. Crystal matrices in their DNA hummed with potential, with the promise of further transformation. Above them, the stars beckoned, not as battlefield or territory to be conquered, but as new realms of possibility to be explored by their expanded consciousness. They were no longer just human or Asterian. They had become something new, something that pointed the way toward humanity's next great adventure, not through force or dominance, but through the willing embrace of change, through the courage to become something more than they had been. The future stretched before them, bright with possibilities that neither species could have imagined alone. Together they had transcended their limitations, their fears, their isolation. They had become living proof that evolution favored not the strongest or the most rigid, but those who dared to transform, to connect, to grow. In the quantum fields of their shared consciousness, infinite possibilities danced. And in every one of them, they were becoming more than they had ever dreamed possible. The end. The Stellar Institute's central chamber had transformed into something new, a vast crystalline sphere where quantum fields danced visibly through the air. At its heart, Lyra and Nathaniel worked with a growing number of hybrid initiates, teaching them to navigate their evolving consciousness. Oh. "Feel the quantum field," Lyra guided, her neural patterns synchronizing with the group. "Don't try to control it. Let it flow through you. Let it show you its own patterns." The chamber filled with shimmering light as the initiates, both human and Asterian volunteers who had undergone the hybridization process, learned to extend their awareness beyond normal space-time. Each success rippled through the crystal network, strengthening their collective understanding. Commander Roth observed from the control room, his expression troubled. "We're losing control of the project's scope. The military council expected weapons, countermeasures against the plague. Instead, we're running some kind of quantum consciousness." "Because that's what we need," Nathaniel replied through the crystal link. "The plague isn't just killing Asterians, it's nature's response to evolutionary stagnation. The hybrid program isn't about creating super soldiers. It's about breaking free from old limitations." The evidence was undeniable. Each new hybrid brought unique perspectives to the quantum consciousness they shared. Former human scientists contributed intuitive leaps of understanding, while Asterian volunteers added their species' deep knowledge of crystal technology. So, together they were becoming something greater than either species had imagined. Dr. Reed's latest findings confirmed their suspicions. "The crystal matrices aren't just changing individual genetics," he reported. "They're creating a quantum field effect that spreads to nearby organisms." Even non-hybrids are showing increased neuroplasticity when exposed to hybrid presence. The implications were staggering. The hybridization process wasn't just saving individuals, it was transforming the very environment around them. Quantum probability fields shifted in their presence, making reality itself more flexible, more open to conscious influence. During one demonstration session, a young hybrid named Saran manifested her first quantum crystal. Unlike the artificial matrices used in the original program, this crystal grew directly from her consciousness, a perfect fusion of thought and matter. "It's beautiful," she whispered, watching neural patterns dance through her creation. "I can feel everything it could become, all possibilities existing at once." The military observers shifted uncomfortably, but Lyra and Nathaniel shared a knowing look. They had discovered this themselves, the ability to perceive quantum superposition, to touch the infinite possibilities inherent in every moment. "Our hybrid program has exceeded all parameters," Veller announced to the Joint Council. "We sought to cure a plague, but we've stumbled upon something far more significant. The next stage of conscious evolution." Through the crystal network, Lyra sensed the ripples of change spreading beyond the Institute. The quantum fields generated by their growing hybrid community were affecting both species in subtle but profound ways. Humans near the facility reported increased intuitive abilities, while Asterians found their rigid crystal patterns becoming more fluid, more adaptable. "We're not just changing ourselves," Nathaniel explained to a group of potential volunteers. "We're changing the fundamental relationship between consciousness and reality. The barriers between mind and matter, between different species and different possibilities, they're all more permeable than we thought." Commander Roth finally began to understand as he watched a hybrid demonstration of quantum healing, not fighting the plague, but gently reshaping probability until health was the most likely outcome. "This isn't a weapon," he admitted. "It's a door opening to something we never imagined possible." The hybrid program evolved into something new, a center for conscious evolution where both species could explore their combined potential. Military oversight gradually shifted to scientific cooperation as the true implications of their work became clear. The Stellar Institute's quantum observation chamber hummed with unprecedented energy as Lyra and Nathaniel demonstrated their evolving abilities. Their neural patterns intertwined through the crystal network, creating cascading waves of bioluminescence that made the facility's sensors fluctuate wildly. "Their quantum coherence is off the charts," Dr. Reed announced, struggling to calibrate his instruments. "They're generating entanglement fields we didn't think were possible in biological systems." Through their shared consciousness, Lyra and Nathaniel explored realms of reality previously hidden from both human and Astarian perception. The crystal matrices in their DNA had evolved beyond simple genetic modifications, becoming channels for quantum phenomena. "Show them," Lyra projected through the network. Together, they reached into the quantum fabric of space itself. The air between them shimmered as they manipulated probability fields, condensing quantum possibilities into tangible reality. A crystal sphere materialized in the space between them, perfectly formed and pulsing with internal light. Not grown, not manufactured, but manifested through pure conscious intent. Veller's patterns flashed with astonishment. "This goes beyond anything we imagined. They're not just carrying the crystal matrices, they're actively creating new ones." Commander Roth stepped closer to examine the floating sphere. "Can this be weaponized against the plague?" "You're still thinking too conventionally," Nathaniel replied, his voice carrying harmonics that made the sphere resonate. The plague isn't just a disease, it's a quantum-level disorder in Asterian biology. We don't need weapons, we need harmony. The sphere dissolved into motes of light that swirled around them, each particle entangled with their hybrid consciousness. Through the crystal network, they could sense the fundamental patterns of reality, the quantum dance that underpinned all existence. Their connection is unprecedented, Dr. Reed reported, reviewing the data. Neural synchronization at 99.7%. They're functioning almost as a single quantum system. But it wasn't just their abilities that were evolving. The crystal matrices had begun to affect the very space around them, creating zones of accelerated probability where the normal laws of physics became more suggestive than absolute. During their private moments in the meditation chamber, Lyra and Nathaniel discovered they could share more than thoughts. Memories, emotions, entire patterns of consciousness flowed between them through the crystal network. Their individual identities remained distinct but complementary, like quantum states existing in superposition. We need to understand the limits of what they can do, Commander Roth insisted during a project review. The military applications are irrelevant, Lyra interrupted, her patterns showing fierce determination. We're not weapons, Commander. We're the next step in both human and Asterian evolution. To demonstrate, she and Nathaniel initiated a quantum resonance field that spread through the facility. Everyone present felt their consciousness expand slightly, touching the edges of something vast and beautiful. For a moment, human and Astarian minds connected directly, sharing understanding beyond words. This is what we can offer, Nathaniel explained as the field faded. Not destruction, but transcendence. The plague isn't attacking your biology, it's attacking your isolation. We can help you reconnect. The implications stunned both species' leadership. What had begun as a desperate attempt to save the Asterians from extinction had evolved into something far more profound. The hybrid consciousness Lyra and Nathaniel shared offered a bridge not just between species, but between different levels of reality itself. Research priorities shifted. Instead of focusing on military applications, both human and Asterian scientists began studying the quantum principles underlying the hybrid's abilities. Each discovery revealed new possibilities, new ways of understanding the universe and their place in it. The crystal matrices, Veller theorized, they're not just genetic modifications. They're quantum processors, allowing consciousness to directly interface with fundamental reality. Through their enhanced perception, Lyra and Nathaniel could see the truth of this. The crystals weren't tools or technology, they were evolution's answer to the limitations of organic life. A way for consciousness to expand beyond the boundaries of conventional physics. As they explored their growing abilities, they began to understand that the Astarian plague wasn't just a disease to be cured. It was a symptom of a deeper problem, the evolutionary dead end of perfect but rigid adaptation. The hybrid program hadn't just saved a species, it had broken through that barrier, opening new paths for both human and Asterian development. The quantum resonance chamber became their testing ground, where they pushed the boundaries of their hybrid nature. Each session revealed new abilities, new ways of manipulating reality through conscious intent. The crystal networks hummed with possibilities, with the combined potential of two species reaching for transcendence. The meditation chamber pulsed with soft bioluminescence as Lyra floated in the crystal-infused suspension fluid. 3 weeks had passed since the initial fusion, and her transformation continued to astonish both human and Asterian scientists. Her neural patterns danced through the surrounding crystals, each pulse revealing new aspects of her evolving biology. Commander Roth watched from the observation deck, his expression a mixture of awe and concern. Beside him, Veller's patterns shifted through complex mathematical sequences as he analyzed the data streams. Her genetic structure is still adapting, Veller noted. The crystal matrices have integrated with her DNA in ways we never anticipated. She's not just carrying the modifications, she's actively evolving them. Through the crystal network, Lyra could sense their conversation, could feel the ripples of their thoughts touching the edges of her consciousness. Her awareness had expanded far beyond normal human perception, yet remained uniquely her own. "I can hear you, you know," she projected through the crystal link, making both men start slightly. Her voice carried harmonics that made the chamber's crystals resonate. "The integration is stable. We should proceed with the next phase." The next phase, the creation of a true hybrid. The thought sent ripples through her neural patterns, visible in the swirling lights beneath her skin. The Asterian plague continued to spread, and time was running out. Roth's jaw tightened. "It's too soon." "We don't fully understand what the fusion has done to you." Lyra emerged from the suspension tank, crystal-infused droplets sliding off her skin like liquid light. "We understand enough. My body has accepted the crystal matrices completely. The plague can't touch me now. I carry the immunity both species need." The lab's main chamber had been transformed into a hybrid research center. Crystalline computers processed vast amounts of genetic data while Asterian scientists worked alongside human geneticists. The collaboration itself was unprecedented, two species working to ensure their mutual survival. Dr. Julian Redd, the project's lead human geneticist, looked up from his workstation as Lyra entered. His dark skin contrasted sharply with the white laboratory coat, and his eyes widened at her approach. Even after weeks, the sight of her transformation still startled him. "The preliminary trials are ready," he said, pulling up a holographic display. We've identified several potential human candidates for the next phase, all carrying genetic markers similar to your original profile." Lyra studied the data through both her eyes and the crystal network, processing information on multiple levels simultaneously. "No," she said finally. "They won't work. But their compatibility ratings are based on old parameters," she interrupted. "We need something different, someone who can handle not just the physical changes, but the consciousness expansion." Her neural patterns swirled with purpose as she accessed the facility's database. "Society? There!" The hologram shifted to display a new profile. Dr. Nathaniel Winters, xenobiologist. His genetic scans showed unusual neural plasticity and traces of natural crystal affinity, rare mutations that had previously gone unnoticed. Commander Roth frowned at the image. "He's not military." "This was supposed to be a controlled military program, which is exactly why he's perfect," Lyra countered. "We're not just creating soldiers anymore, we're evolving consciousness itself. We need someone who can approach this with wonder, not tactical analysis." Villar's patterns shifted to show agreement. "The human military mindset, while admirable, may be too rigid for what we're attempting. Dr. Novak's own transformation has shown us that this process requires flexibility." The decision moved up the chain of command, while Lyra continued her own evolution. Each day brought new discoveries as her hybrid biology developed. She could manipulate the crystal networks with increasing precision, could sense the quantum fields that the Astarians used for communication and technology. When Dr. Winters arrived at the facility, his reaction wasn't what anyone expected. Where others showed fear or awe at Lyra's transformed appearance, he showed fascination. "Remarkable," he breathed, studying the neural patterns flowing beneath her skin. "The crystal matrices haven't just bonded with your cellular structure. They've enhanced it. You're achieving protein configurations that shouldn't be possible." Lyra felt his consciousness brush against the crystal network. untrained but instinctively reaching out. "You can sense it, can't you?" she asked. "The network. The connection." Nathaniel nodded, his green eyes bright with wonder. "I've always felt something, especially around certain minerals, like a humming just below normal perception. Is that what you work with?" "That's just the surface," she smiled, her pattern shifting to welcome colors. "Are you ready to go deeper, deeper?" The preparation for Nathaniel's transformation began immediately. But unlike Lyra's procedure, this would be different. Her hybrid biology now allowed for direct genetic transfer, a merging of human, Asterian, and crystal matrix DNA. As Nathaniel lay in the fusion chamber, Lyra placed her hands on the crystal controls. Her consciousness expanded through the network, reaching for his mind. So the connection sparked immediate and powerful. "Oh!" he gasped, eyes wide as neural patterns began to shimmer beneath his skin. "I can feel everything." The transformation accelerated, driven by their combined consciousness. Where Lyra's change had taken weeks to stabilize, Nathaniel's body adapted in days. The crystal matrices wove through his genetic structure, guided by Lyra's experience and his own natural affinity. But it was more than mere physical change. Through the crystal network, their minds touched, shared, grew. Lyra felt his wonder become her wonder, his insight sparking new evolutionary leaps in her own hybrid nature. "This is what we needed," Valor observed, his patterns showing deep satisfaction. Not just genetic compatibility, but conscious resonance. They're accelerating each other's evolution. Commander Roth watched the process with growing realization. "Oh, this isn't just about saving your species anymore, is it? This is about transforming both of ours." The truth hung in the crystal-charged air. They had stumbled upon something far beyond their original goals. In seeking to save two species, they had begun to create something entirely new. Through the crystal network, Lyra and Nathaniel's consciousness danced, exploring the vast potential of their hybrid nature. The future beckoned, bright with possibilities neither species imagined alone.